So we'll get rolling. Welcome everyone to session 8 of the Ontario Education Summit. Tonight we have with us, currently living in Toronto, but from Quebec originally, FIBA official Nate Saunders. Nate, I'm going to mute everyone.
Sure.
So you'll have to unmute yourself after. Nate comes to us with a very vast resume of officiating. He's garnered many different levels of FIBA assignments that he's covered. Nate also locally works within Toronto, but mostly with U Sport and college level assignments that he's had both provincially and nationally, including a number of U Sport championships as well as CCA championships. I actually got to see him work his last CCAAs that were in Hamilton. I remember watching him work a few games at that tournament, but very calm and cool and collected on the floor. And you'll probably see that tonight in his presentation style, just very down to earth, easygoing guy. So Nate, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight, and really look forward to hearing you speak tonight. So the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks a mil, Dan. Thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure, and just want to thank everybody for taking time out of their evening to attend. You know, it's they've been great sessions so far. I just hope that I can contribute, and that everybody can take a little something from the session tonight. I guess I'm gonna start by sharing the screen. Dan, feel free to just jump in anytime if there's any glitches or anything.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Don't worry.
Awesome. There we go. And all right, what are we looking at? Are we good, Dan? All right. I think
you're good.
Yep. Okay, perfect. All right. So welcome again. I'm Nate, living in Toronto now, but from Montreal. A shout out to all my Quebec friends, referees, colleagues who are tuning in as well. Thanks for joining me. Again, we're going to be talking about team officiating tonight. Just know I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Just bringing a couple philosophies, viewpoints, my experiences as well, and things that I'm also working on to share with you all. And whatever you can grab from it is all the better. Just trying to share my knowledge with everyone. I think it's a pretty timely subject, as you know, we all kind of miss the camaraderie side of being on the court, the relationships we've developed, friendships and all that. You know what I mean? So again, we're going to just talk about team officiating. My presentation tonight is titled "Making the Third Team the Best Team." All right, that third team, of course, being us. All right, let's get started. We'll start with the definition of team. All right. It's a group of people who are independent with respect to information, resources, knowledge, and skills, and who seek to combine their efforts to achieve a common goal. Okay, so again, everything we're going to talk about tonight, if we can just bring that team concept back into officiating and how it applies to officiating. And this year with the definition, okay, we talk about interdependent. What does that mean? It simply means no significant task can be accomplished without the help and cooperation of every member. It means the success of every individual is bound to the success of the whole team, and that team members need one another to get work done. Okay, so basically what I'm seeing is that too often we officiate on our own. You know, like we're kind of like on our own island out there on the floor, whether it be in a 2-person system or a 3-person system. And again, like that, we've all kind of been guilty of it, right? You know, whether that's driven by our own goals or perspectives or motivations. We really need to just bring it back together, and remember that, you know, we operate as one. Even though we're in 3 different locations on the floor, we operate as one. I think a good example of the officiating on the islands has kind of been seen with the, and I'll kind of pick on them here, in NCAA officiating, especially when you get to like the Final Fours and the final game. It's almost very apparent that we have 3 very experienced, very competent crew chiefs, but they appear to be on their own islands. Okay, again, when that happens, it is obvious, and the game suffers as a result. We need to make sure we bring back that teamwork aspect and combine all of our skills as opposed to try and, you know, influence our other team members. Remember, success is only possible when the team succeeds. So sometimes I've heard people saying, "Hey, oh, there's my partner. He's getting an earful from the coach. Man, it sucks to be him." Well, in reality, that's not just on your partner. That's a team thing. Okay, we can't just leave our partner there. We've got to address that as a team. Those things need to be taken care of. We're only as strong as our weakest member. I don't like to say weakest. I'd like to say our most developing member. All right. Carrying along, teams typically refer to a small group of people that have complementary skills. They also have a commitment to a common goal, performance targets, and are on an operating model. And lastly, a small group of people that consider itself responsible for the team's performance. So remember all these concepts, right? And again, it sounds easy in passing, but as officials, we need to start putting those things into practice. And we'll talk about that more as we go along. Basic team dynamics framework. Okay, so we see here 4 different aspects, and when they do sync, when they do meet, we do get that teamwork aspect. Open communication is, of course, to avoid conflicts. Effective coordination is to avoid any confusion or overstepping of boundaries. Efficient cooperation is to perform tasks in a timely manner and to produce required results. So sharing the workload. And then lastly, interdependence is to maintain a high levels of performance. Okay, and again, when we bring that all together, the goal should be teamwork. We have pictures here of just officials, right? So again, we all wear the same shirt, we all blow the same whistle, and we're all there because we have a passion for the game, right? So remember to always put your crew first, and we'll talk about ways how to go about doing that. Let's go now and look at the FIBA perspective of things. FIBA has one golden rule when it comes to prioritizing referee training for games, and that's game control. The 2 or 3 appointed referees are the ones who are responsible for this control, for this game control. Teamwork, by FIBA standards, is defined as the smooth functioning of the referee team to provide proper coverage and control to a game. We have a simple little roadmap we'll take a quick look at here. Again, let's say I'm getting started into officiating. It's a bit of a layered approach, right? I can't just hop on the floor and, put whatever skills I have together and referee. I've kind of got to layer my things. And if we start on that path, rule knowledge always comes first. Obviously, you need to know the rules. If I don't know the rules, then what am I doing? Secondly is mechanics. Start building my mechanics using FIBA approved mechanics at all times. Layered in with the IOTs, the individual officiating techniques. We'll take a look at that a little bit later. As you can see, point 4 there on that roadmap is teamwork and communication. Again, that comes with having developed all of those other skills. Point number 5, there's game awareness on our roadmap. Jason talked about that last week. And then lastly, game control comes when we've put all of those other things into play. And then the result is hopefully a smooth operating game. Big myth here. Okay, so again, teamwork does not mean having to never take the blame for yourself. Again, it's a shared approach, and we should always take that into officiating. Important. 50 to 60% is the percentage of foul calls made by the lead in a game on average. Statistically, the lead has the smallest area of coverage by size. Again, this should help explain the need for teamwork. Okay, in a game, each official will assume the role of lead for both teams at different points in the game, and many key decisions will determine the outcome from the lead's position. Okay, so imagine if we all take turns being lead on different sides of the floor, but we're not in unison at any point in time. We'd have 3 different games going. Okay, again, the importance of teamwork is knowing how our rotation system works, knowing that we'll each be the lead at some point in time. Hopefully we've pre-gamed what we are tolerating for our contest, and we can at least have that same call selection on both sides of the floor. Okay. Again, we'll talk about pre-gaming a little bit later. But you cannot neglect the necessity of knowing your two-person and three-person mechanics, given the fact that there's so much action in the leads area. And again, teamwork is the result of that. It is crucial to learn to understand the concepts of crew rotations and basic officiating techniques to be able to function as a team effectively. Okay, and we talked about that just in the roadmaps there. Again, teamwork was point number 4, but prior to that was rule knowledge, IoTs, and your basic mechanics, right? So all that comes together. Again, teamwork is along that roadmap, but you need to know that stuff and have that down pat prior. Ideally, each referee has only 1 to 2 active matchups in their area of responsibility. The challenge is ensuring that all referees pick up different matchups. Normally, each referee picks up the closest active matchup and possibly one more. And the pregame conference plays a significant role in planning, crew officiating techniques, and execution. Okay, this is especially true for things like curl plays, weak side drives. You must know when the play's in your primary. Okay, and you must know when it's your area of responsibility. Okay, we often call it AOR. Okay. Also, I'd like to add, you also need to know when you have the open look on a play, and we'll talk about that shortly. Let's talk about the pregame discussions now. So again, doesn't even need to be said, but you need to have a thorough pregame with all partners contributing. Okay, pregames are absolutely necessary. They are to ensure you and your partners are on the same page when officiating together. And lastly, it's where team officiating begins. I remember Mike Holmesy having said a story of he got to a FIBA tournament and wanted to pregame, I guess, going into a big game with an international partner or partners. I don't remember. I do remember him saying, though, that one of the partners, when Mike wanted to start leading the pregame, simply picked up the rule book, said that FIBA, and that was it for their pregame. And again, that just can't happen, right? There are too many variables, there are too many things in our game. The game's too fast. We need to sit down and kind of talk things through, whether it be rotations, contact principles, communication, all that stuff. Again, we'll go through that coming up in slides, but gone are the days when we can just get on the floor together without at least talking through what our plan for the game is. Yeah, just last point to add on that is talk things out amongst your crew. Failing to do so may mean you'll have to work it out on the court instead. And it's really not ideal having to work it out in front of your crowd of 50, 100, 200, whatever. It's better to just talk it out in a pregame before. We'll cover a couple of general topics for pregame discussions. Again, it's not limited to this, but this is a kind of good guide, a couple good subjects that you should be hitting on when you are sitting with your crew, okay? Game control's number 1. Again, it's FIBA's number 1, game control at all costs, whether that means players, coaches, team benches, fighting situations, technical fouls, unsportings, disqualifying, and general communication needs to be touched on for sure. Second thing is technical control. On that same point of game awareness, shot clocks, game clocks, team fouls, timeouts remaining, substitutions if you are working with an instant replay system, end of period and end of game situations, EOP and EOG, right? Other things are contacts and criterias. So basic contact principles, hand checking, post play, rebounding, screening, block charge scenarios, flopping, faking, RSBQ, and active shooting. Violations, obviously, huge, traveling, carrying, all that stuff, interference. Individual officiating techniques. So again, a couple of examples of those. And if you're not familiar with them, I suggest you take a quick read through the FIBA manual. That'll explain different IoT principles. So primary coverage areas, being distance and stationary, staying with the play, open angle, cross step, active mindset, dead ball efficiency. Again, these are all specific to an official, little tips and pointers that you repeat to yourself in a game to keep you officiating as efficiently as possible. And lastly, 2-person and 3-person officiating mechanics. So as lead, trail, center, your responsibilities, close down, rotation, transitions, fast break, rebounding, all that stuff. 3-point coverage is huge. Okay, all that stuff definitely needs to be talked about. Okay, there is a lot to cover, but take the time necessary. You know, double whistles, blarges, out of bounds help situations, all that stuff. Handling benches, coaches. As Karen mentioned in hers, like if you have previous knowledge of the history between teams, you know, that stuff has to be brought up. Share it. There's no point in holding that information and share that stuff. Another huge thing that I didn't mention here was just eye contact. And I have an anecdote coming up later about that, but it's huge. Like, again, just that simple thing of, you know, when you get to the baseline, making eye contact with your partners, it goes such a long way. Got another video coming up here. This one, it will be grainy. I will have to play it again, but it's just showing teamwork in respects to bench control. Again, will be very grainy. I'll try and play it a couple times. Have a couple of graphics that'll help. It's just loading here. So as you'll see, the play set up here on the right side. What we are going to see is it's as simple as dead ball. The trail official comes over and reminds the bench to sit. It's as simple as that. We're going to get a couple graphics to help us see it again. Again, trail coming over, getting the center's attention also, who has their attention focused on the play, who doesn't see it. It's all about managing the game. It's all about managing. I'll just play that again really, really quickly. But again, dead ball situation. Center can't see it, right? It's directly behind them. They might not be hearing everything. Trail takes the time to come over. It's as simple. It could be a hands gesture. It could be an official warning if they've been warned before. It could even be a technical foul if they've gotten that warning before, right? So most importantly is that it doesn't go unnoticed, and that the trail here in this scenario is not leaving the center to have to figure it out for themselves. So teamwork at all costs. Next slide. The key to successful 3-person officiating, 2-person and 3-person officiating is one simple word, and that's trust. Okay, we'll talk about that for a bit. You must trust your partners. Only then can you concentrate on your primary area of coverage and not have to worry about what is going on in your partner's area. Okay. The basic principle is that a referee should have an open look on the play, and you should be in a position to referee an area the other two aren't able to observe. Okay. Here in the text it says, and not have to worry about what is going on in your partner's area. Yes, it's true. You might not have to worry about it, but it's still good to know. As I always like to say, you should have an opinion on plays in your secondary. Okay, so again, it's plays not in your primary. Your partner's got the primary. Something happens. Okay, it's not necessarily for you to worry about, but you should have an opinion on it. You should kind of, hey, something going on there, and we'll talk about reasons why it's very important to have an opinion in your secondary. If you look at team officiating general concepts, in a game setting, team officiating is about helping your partner or partners focus, with fouls outside their primary coverage area. When giving help, you must be correct. Your partner should acknowledge that coming outside your area was a good get, as they like to say. Okay. Remember to trust your partner or partners at all times and know when calls are being passed on. It's very important to know. And again, that will only come with experience. You know, knowing when your partner's either not seeing something or passing on it, especially when it comes to three-person officiating. And we'll talk about that. If you take a look at teamwork in action, So consider the following situations where you must anticipate the outcome. Okay, again, part of active mindset, and be ready to make a call, or at the very least, have an opinion on the play. So look at number 1. When your partner closest to the play is not in a good position to make the call. Number 2, when your partner has been screened out or has been obstructed from the play. 3, when your partner is late in transition. Number 4, when your partner sees it differently from everyone else in the gym, otherwise known as a missed call. Number 5, when your partner has the majority of the play in their primary. And number 6, curl plays coming towards you or that give you an open angle. Okay, again, be ready. Be ready, because again, game's so dynamic, players are very fast. Be ready, have an opinion on those plays. Okay. All that said, make sure to give your partner a chance to blow the whistle. Okay, so don't come in there too quick either. Try not to get caught off guard when something does happen and you have to step in. And yeah, just be ready, because you are the second line of defense for assuring the team covers covers the play efficiently. Next up, we have a pretty good video. You might have to play it once or twice, but it will just be the trail assisting with a shot clock that fails to reset. I think this is a clip from the PBL in the States. Okay. All right, we can see the ball on the weak side, a drive from the center side. It's a bit sloppy. Shot clock's coming down. We're now at 9. Takes a drive shot. Shot actually hits the clock. If we take a look at the trail, all right, a lot going there. I'm going to go right back. Take a look again. As you can see, the official's talking. All right, we'll take another look at it. Again, shot clock set 8. Hits the rim. Look at the trail. He's at the bottom right corner. He's signaling for a reset of the clock. The center doesn't pick it up. Waves it off, thinking that the ball doesn't hit the rim. Quick conference. Comes over right away. Corrects it. And the center counts the basket, and we proceed on. Right? So a couple good things here that the trail did. The first thing was the nonverbal signal, reset, reset, reset. Whether that's to our table, is probably mostly directed to our table. But again, if our center is able to pick up that reset, able to see that, we might not have a whistle blown a little bit later on. In any case, in this scenario, doesn't pick it up. Center blows what he thinks is a shot clock violation. Quick conference to correct it. I have positive knowledge that that ball hit the rim. We should have had it reset. That basket should count. And as quick as we go, basket counts and we move on. Again, quick use of efficient teamwork and communication, and we get the call right at the end of the day. Okay, imagine that trail having that knowledge and not passing it on for whatever reason, right? That's a problem. And again, on something that's more or less easy to see and easy to correct, we get the call right. Moving on. Teamwork in action continued. So taking some more looks for situations where teamwork and officiating is likely to apply. So again, transition plays, very often transition plays, all 3 officials kind of get in on that until the play settles. Officiating a secondary defender on a block charge situation. Identifying the correct free throw shooter. Whether 2 or 3 points shall be awarded on a successful attempt for field goal. Whether 2 or 3 free throws shall be awarded on an unsuccessful attempt for field goal. Also to determine the correct time on the game clock or shot clock following a malfunction. Also upgrading of a foul call to unsportsmanlike or disqualifying. Teamwork used to identify the involvement of any team member or bench personnel during any act of violence. Okay, so fighting scenario. FIBA is now using the term act of violence. They're starting to put that into their lingo. Whether a shot for a successful field goal was released before the game clock signal sounded for the end of the quarter or overtime. Teamwork to identify the player who has caused the ball to go out of bounds. Also teamwork to determine whether goaltending or basket interference was called correctly. And then any game-saving calls. I'm going to open up the floor for a quick second. Hopefully everyone can see this pretty clearly. If you can take a look at those points, starting with identifying the third point down, identifying the correct free throw shooter. Again, single asterisk, okay? All those single asterisk points there, they have something in common, okay? Same thing with there's only one double asterisk and then a triple asterisk. There are two triple asterisks at the bottom, okay? So the single asterisk points, they all have something in common. And I'd like to open up the floor if anyone wants to take a stab at what it is they have in common. Yeah, and then we'll talk about it after. Anyone have any ideas what those points might have in common? Single asterisk points. Anyone want to take a guess? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, it's John.
Hey, John.
Hi, how are you?
Not bad, yourself.
Good. Does it have something to do with the shot clock being reset?
Not specifically. Not specifically. Nice try. Yeah, we're gonna thank you for that. Something else we're looking for.
Correctable errors.
Hey, how you doing?
Correctable errors.
Sorry, what was that one more time?
Correctable errors.
You're definitely onto something. You're definitely onto something. On that point, do you want to delve a little further, maybe?
Well, I was just saying you have to be aware of correctable errors. First of all, you never want to have a correctable error in a game. If the crew is working well, it's not necessary. But when you say, a 2 or 3 points, getting the right shooter, not allowing the incorrect shooter, because all those create problems,
Yeah, you're definitely onto something. It's not exactly what we're looking for, but you're definitely onto something. Anyone else? We'll give it one last stab.
Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
So it's Justin Walsh here. Maybe I'm going the wrong way here, but it appears that all these single asterisk points, Nate, deal with dead ball time.
Also another good, yeah, definitely. You're definitely onto something as well, Justin. Yeah, for sure. It's not exactly what we're looking for, but we'll anyone else want to give one last stab?
There's a couple of things in the chat, Nate, that people have typed in. So Mark Besner said stop clock situations.
Yeah.
Kyle Pollard said assistance from non-calling official.
Okay.
Perry said IRS situations. Peter Hennerman said dead ball situation and correctable error. And Mike said also when it was a non-shooting foul and now we're shooting.
Excellent. Great suggestions by everyone. I did hear the right answer to what I was looking for, and I'll just put it up there. So as you can see at the bottom there, they are instant replay system scenarios. So we'll look at the first ones with, I think it was Perry that, congrats Perry, good one. Single asterisk points, okay? These are all instant replay system review points at any point of the game. Okay, so again, on that same note of dead ball times, yes, the IRS, anytime you can go to IRS, they are dead ball, they will be done at dead balls, during dead balls. And again, the goal there is to get the play right. Okay, like very similarly, the double asterisk point, IRS reviews on any last shot of the quarter or overtime. Okay, and then the triple ones, those two there, IRS reviews in the last 2 minutes of the game. So again, I know we do not work with the IRS very often here in Canada. However, it's still good to be aware of because at the end of the day, do know that the IRS should be bringing our attention to matters that aren't subjective, right? So these are again more objective things. They're more black and white plays, right? And they, of course, coincide with RS protocols, and are good opportunities for teamwork to come into play, right? These are plays that can be reviewed on film if we did have the IRS. Likewise, if we have that opportunity as a team to come together and talk about them, let's come together and talk about them and get them right. We'll use that to our advantage. Okay, not so much. I know that last point with whether goaltending or basket interference, that one's a little bit trickier. But again, with all those other points, right? If we have positive knowledge that something needs to be corrected, let's take the time and correct those. Okay, let's take the time and correct those. Okay, so yeah, thank you everyone for your input. Again, just an awareness point here with the instant replay system. Again, the goal is to get the call right, especially when we're coming together as a team. All right, awesome, awesome. Moving on. This I think is one of my last videos, but a really good one. Okay, we're looking at trail help here. We'll probably play this 1 or 2 times as well. We'll watch the play come down the floor, get kicked to the center side drive happens, and then we go to the hoop and we'll see what happens there. Trail has the play, center side, drive, boom. All right, we'll play it one more time. Again, it's a quick video, only 11 seconds.
So the one thing I did notice, Max, or Nate, is that Max Sense Colombe is posting the links to these videos in the chat.
Awesome.
So if it's playing choppy for some folks, then use that link that's in the chat. You'll be able to actually see the clip probably a little bit clearer to watch it on your own system.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. By all means, please go ahead. For those who don't have that, I'll just play it once or twice more, and then we'll kind of talk about it. Thanks for that, Max. All right, so what we got here basically is the play that comes down the floor, trail side, gets kicked to the center side of the floor. Okay, center now has its primary coverage area for the center. We get a center side drive. So typically that's the center's play the whole way, right? It looks like a one-on-one. Goes to the hoop, okay, enters the key, but in doing so decides to come around the other side and then attempt the shot. So the fact that they are coming across that lane line now technically does make it the lead's play. Okay. However, now even though it's 2 or 3 feet from the lead on that baseline, as that player decides to go up, the lead does not have the optimal look at that. Neither does the center, who is again looking across the lane on the other side of the hoop. Again, not the best angles on that play. As the player goes up, gets fouled, and as you can kind of see in the video, delay, and we have a foul call coming in from the trail. Trail gives the partners the opportunity to blow the whistle, recognizes also that they have the best look or the A look on that play, and a slightly delayed whistle on a correct foul call there, which is just, I think, great officiating. As you can see, the trail is stepping in just to assert that, as you can see, by stepping in, trail shows that they're ready to officiate and the call is made, which is fantastic. We'll just play it one last time. It's only 11 seconds. Awesome. All right, moving on. Did you know? Okay, we'll take a look at this little diagram. We'll go through it pretty quickly here, but nevertheless, effective teams, okay? Of the 5 key dynamics of effective teams that researchers identified, psychological safety was by far the most important. And we'll talk about that, psychological safety, okay? Meaning team members feel safe to take risks and be vulnerable in front of each other. Again, if we put this back into the spectrum of basketball officiating, number 2, dependability, just knowing that your partners are there, being able to rely on them. Number 3, structure and clarity. Number 4, meaning, and number 5, impact. Okay, all those things. Again, I just want to kind of focus on point number 1, being psychological safety was the most important factor for the smooth functioning of effective teams. We will talk about that a little more. So we did mention trust prior. So do know that trust and psychological safety, they are related, but they're not interchangeable. They're not the same thing. So one contributes to the other and vice versa, if you can kind of see that. Right? When teams feel safe, they'll be more empowered to face challenges. Okay. Likewise, trusting your partners, feeling safe, you'll be able to handle a tough game, right? Likewise, if you feel safe, you're more inclined to trust your partners, and again, you'll get through that tough game. On the flip side of things, we'll take a quick look at the 5 dysfunctions of a team. This was a study conducted by Patrick Lencioni, describing the many pitfalls that teams face. Number 1, of course, being the lack of trust. Okay, not willing to be open and honest with the group, failing to admit when you were wrong, failing to share personal weaknesses, or be vulnerable with one another. Okay, it's as simple as that. Trust comes first. Fear of conflict. Okay, maybe not wanting to upset somebody with something you got going on. Seeking artificial harmony over choosing artificial harmony over constructive or passionate debate. Right. Point number 3, lack of commitment. Not being committed. Commitment comes in different shapes and forms. I'm sure we've all gotten to games where my partner might be like, "Oh man, I'd rather be anywhere but doing this game right now." You know what I mean? Like, again, that even though it might feel like that, we've all kind of been there. Again, for that, your partner or your partners, that might just be the biggest game of their career, right? And so, just appearing committed to it at all costs might go a long way. Okay. Number 4, avoidance of responsibilities, that are just counterproductive. Number 5, lack of focus on team results. Probably heard other officials say, "Oh, I'm just reffing this game so I can work games later on, playoff games later on," or something like that. You know what I mean? That's more of a self-driven goal. Okay, it's there, but you know what I mean? Do I really need to, be voicing that, or is that really, as a team, is that really constructive to the team? Probably not. All that said, the crew chief plays a huge role. Okay, huge role in fostering psychological safety and trust amongst your crew. Okay, and there are different ways you can do that as a crew chief. So being sure to demonstrate engagement at all costs, showing understanding for your crew, being inclusive in decision making. Okay, asking for the team's input. Again, these things sound simple in when talking about them, but again, putting them into practice every time we go out there. I'm working on that myself. Showing confidence and conviction without appearing inflexible. Admitting when you're wrong. Like, we're all human. We're all human. We've all made mistakes. Admitting you're wrong goes a long way. Again, the goal is fostering trust. Also, learning to cope with game errors. Okay. Keep in mind, number 1, it's a part of the game. And number 2, nothing kills the psychological safety of a team quicker than a negative reaction to an error. We've all kind of been there, maybe, made a call or had a decision or something, and partner just didn't approve, either, might have glanced and seen an eye roll or a shrug or something, anything nonverbal. Again, it just takes away from that, that trust factor. Okay. Again, as a team, we need to be supportive. We all make errors. Okay. It's a learning experience. The game goes on. Okay. Be sure as a crew chief that you are keeping up with that psychological safety of the team at all costs. I'm going to talk about a quick anecdote, if I may. As you can see, a picture here of Cristiano Moreno in Brazil, Brazilian referee who I got the pleasure to work with prior to his retirement, which was just a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Moreno has 26 years as a FIBA referee, has officiated a whole slew of different tournaments. As you can see, a couple there: Olympic Games, Men's World Cup, Women's World Cup, Eurobasket, and the Pan Am Games, which I was so fortunate enough to work with him on that last game. Again, it was just someone who I thought was a great crew chief, and just great at fostering that psychological safety. During we had 2 games over 4 days, if I'm not mistaken. It was in South America. I know one of the games was definitely in Uruguay. But again, it was just over that stint, I'd really learned and understood a whole new level of teamwork through officiating. And it was also just something, I guess, on a FIBA America. So again, the Latin American referees are very, very big on that whole teamwork, eye contact principle. Eye contact, eye contact, eye contact. Even though, despite them speaking Spanish, me speaking English, that communication factor, we connected. Like on the court, we were connecting. I just thought it was fantastic, and it's something that I'm trying to bring in my games, and something I want to see a little bit more going forward here in Canada. I'll never forget my that game working with actually, that wasn't my first time working with Mr. Moranjo, but I will say that, remember that first time I did work with him, as you can see him in the center there, ball went up, we went up and down the floor once or twice, and got to a timeout shortly thereafter, and he pulled me aside and said, "Nate, you have to look at me." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You have to look at me. Eye contact. I want you to make eye contact." So got out there, went down his lead. The game's going on quick pace, and I'm still, I know I have to look at him, but I know the game's going on. I'm not making eye contact, and I can just feel his eyes staring through my soul. He was the trail, looking down at me, waiting for me to make eye contact. Took a while for me to get used to that. But again, when I did make that eye contact connection ultimately with him and then the center in that game, it just brought a level of calm and kind of connection, right? He was saying every time you get down his lead, just take a glance, connect with the trail if you can connect with the center, and it brings your level of connection together, and it really does. I can't explain it any more than that, but again, it was something I did bring with me. I worked with him, again, a huge game. It was in Uruguay. I think it was against Paraguay, a rival. And this was the pre-World Cup qualifier. Again, it was in front of 15,000 fans or something like that. And the fans in South America, they don't boo, they whistle. And so I just remember getting whistled at, and it's just ear-piercing whistling. But again, we stuck to it. He led us through a great pregame, talked us through, really made us feel safe in our, in that pre-game. When we got on the floor, we had our eye contact going. We weren't perfect, by any means. We were not perfect, but again, he was supportive, and got us through that game. Right, we had all sorts of stuff going. I remember in that game, we had all sorts of stuff going on. We had warnings, a couple technical fouls. Again, the fans are just chirping, whistling. But again, the importance of the crew chief just fostering that kind of that connection, that trust, goes such a long way, and really, I have to say, brought me to the end of that game, and it was phenomenal. So I know Mr. Morano's not listening, but I do want to thank him for that. Great experience. And again, if as an upcoming official who might be listening to this, find someone who we all know, an experienced referee. Find someone who demonstrates those things, who makes you feel safe, right? And go watch them work. If you get to work with them, even better. Pick their brain. You know what I mean? Those things are go a long, long way. Carrying on, correlation. So I know there are no statistics on something like this, but I would love to know, if there was definitely a correlation between high team efficiency, so that same kind of, that trust factor, that kind of cooperation factor, and an increased call accuracy. Because again, when you're feeling safe, when you know you're officiating your primary, you don't have to worry about what's going on in other people's areas. I would be very, I can't say definitively, but I would definitely say once you're comfortable making your calls, everyone's taking care of their stuff. I would say the game flow is easier, and we potentially have a higher call accuracy. When we are lacking trust, on the other side of things, if we are lacking trust or we're not sure, we don't feel comfortable, and we start getting whistles in other zones, and now is when I would think, we open up ourselves to calls that might not be as efficient as if it was officiated in one zone primary. Again, all that to say is that, take a look maybe for yourselves, think back in past games, maybe your teamwork did correlate to a higher call accuracy. And that's why, again, I just think it's so important that it's something that we might want to strive to going forward. You know what I mean? Again, teamwork at all costs. Video analysis, coming to the end here, just a slide or two left. Video analysis, okay. Valuable tool to help us learn from our mistakes, okay, super valuable. Again, the tape doesn't lie. Review plays and share views as a crew, okay. So I know a lot of us do that, and it's great. I encourage us to keep doing it. When we're home, we're watching the game on our computers or whatever. Clip it, send it to a group of people. Keep doing that stuff. That's great, right? If you're a crew chief and you're leading a pregame and you're able to bring in like an iPad or something, anything, share clips into the pregame, integrate them into the pregame, why not? It goes such a long way. During the game, I know NBA officials, I know we're not at that technological point that they are, but they're looking at clips at halftime, right? It's priceless. And again, after the game, if we're able to get clips, talk about it, again, look at that stuff, discuss it. We can't do it alone, okay? Be prepared to acknowledge your mistakes and hear criticism. It's part of it. We're all here to learn. Nobody here is perfect. Nobody's perfect, okay? The goal is to learn, okay? To improve. You cannot do it alone. You just can't officiate, okay? And again, if the ego factor, if you don't want to hear it, if it's too much for you, again, we are here to construct. It's nothing. We're not picking on people. Okay, leave the ego in the parking lot. Come in. We're all here to learn, and we go all to our separate ways afterwards. Once we've shared with everyone, right? Again, it's just so that we can improve. The game benefits from it. We benefit from it. Everyone benefits from it. All right. That's just about it, man. I thank you guys for listening. Just want to say, like, again, can't wait to be on the court with a lot of you guys. Guys and girls, you know what I mean? We missed the game. Hopefully you've picked up something from here today. You can take back into it when we finally get back onto the court. Again, a little quote I threw in there. I was a good referee thanks to my partners. They made me look good, right? Again, put your crews first, okay? As Mike Thompson always says, build relationships, not friendships. It goes such a long way. And lastly, if you do take the team out of teamwork, it's just work. And after all, who wants that, right? Just have fun with it. Thank you everyone for attending. We'll open up the floor for questions. Thanks. Thank you.
So first off, Nate, thank you. That was excellent. There's a lot of information to take out of that. And I know I have people asking me for the presentation already. So once we get the recording posted, I will obviously send that out, and then you'll have access to that, as well as the other recordings that we have from the other sessions. So if you'd like to use any of these locally with your own board, please let me know, and I can direct you on how to get that recording to be able to use with your local board to be able to obviously use the great information that we're getting in these sessions. So you're getting lots of love in the chat, by the way, Nate.
Oh, I
I'm
haven't
going to
checked.
go back.
I haven't checked.
I'm gonna go back to the question that I have here before I lose it.
Yep.
And gets buried in love. But question that came into me said, can you ask Nate to address positive body language on dead ball situations, and what is his take on this to be a successful official?
That's a great question. Something I didn't touch on. Yeah, positive body language. Again, I kind of touched on it. It's always just being aware, right, of what you might be portraying after a big call that went either the right way or the wrong way. Your shoulders, your posture, your facial expressions. Even I'll go as far as saying on a personal level, I remember Max Odette even pulling me aside and saying, Nate, you know, you just made a call, and I can tell just based on your face that you weren't happy with it. I said, Max, you're 100% right. Like I wasn't happy with that call I made, and I wasn't even aware of it, right? And so again, that's great teamwork. He came over, let me know, and it might be something as subtle as, you know, your shoulder shrugging or your brows dropping or something. Or I think what Max actually told me is that after I'd made the call, I kind of put my head down and went to the table, and he'd noticed that, as opposed to keeping my head and my chin up and going to the table. It's something as small as that. Again, body language, players, coaches, they read that stuff, right? So again, hope I answered the question, but yeah, body language is huge, and small nuances, if other people can point them out to you, that's all the better for sure.
Excellent. Good answer.
Anything else you got?
Anyone else with questions? Obviously, I'm not going to make you type them into the chat if you don't have them there already, so you can raise your hand. But another one that I just had come into the chat said, "Can you elaborate on seeing a foul differently than the rest of the crew or the gym? Are we supposed to always have an opinion on our partners, or our own calls in the moment?"
Yeah, a couple things in that question. Yeah, as I mentioned, you should, again, it'll come with experience, but you should have an opinion on plays that aren't in your primary. You know, just again, it's that awareness factor. You should know what's going on. Again, might not necessarily mean making the call, but let's say again, a call that everyone else saw differently in the gym. Your partner makes that call. You know, you should know what your partner called, what your opinion on the play too, and then what the gym saw, right? Or the rest of the people in the gym saw, right? And again, that's just the awareness factor. That's comes down to game control as well, right? Because again, we're responsible for managing the temperature of the game. You know, it could be benches that are reacting to all that stuff. We're responsible for that. So again, awareness. Yeah, actually, I'll see if I can read the question to make sure I answered it.
So that was the one from Alex.
Alex, yeah. Seeing a foul differently from the rest of the gym. Yeah, it's very possible. You've seen it differently, or your partner's seen it differently and made a call, or hasn't made a call, right? And you have information from your side. You've got to know if there's time you come in and you make that game saver or that call that's absolutely necessary. All situational. Keys are to just be ready and yeah, have an opinion. Don't guess.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Alex. The next one is just above that. After I ask this question, Mike, you can jump in. Yes, I noticed you unmuted yourself. So the next one that was just above that, it says, how do you handle, and I like this question. This is why I want to ask you this, if I'm interested for your answer, but how do you handle a coach who comes up to you after a game and says they loved how much the way that you refereed the game, but then absolutely belittles the rest of your crew?
Yeah.
How would you approach a situation like that?
You know what? Those are tough, right? Like you never want to hear that. I never want to hear that. I'd rather not hear anything at all. You know, if you can be praising me all you want, but the second you're belittling a partner, it comes right back to me, right? We're a team. Again, I would just try and direct the coach's attention, you know, back to the positives. You know what I mean? Don't go into specifics. So after the game, you don't need to talk about what was what, or you know, specific calls. It might be personal, so I wouldn't even get into that. You know what I mean? I would just try and take it at face value for what it is. But I wouldn't get into discussing that kind of stuff. A situation like that, again, sounds personal, and nobody really, you can't win that discussion after the fact, right? There's not much you can do about that. Just keep it really black and white, like keep it really simple, very professional at all costs. You know what I mean? I wouldn't personally even acknowledge the praise that I'm getting. It's irrelevant, you know? So, yeah, I try and avoid those conversations, period. It's the best way of not even getting into it. But yeah, on a whole, that's how I approach that.
So there's a couple of questions I'm going to get to in a
Yep.
second. Mr. Thompson, go ahead.
Thanks, Dan. So Nate, very nice job tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know you just said you won't recognize the praise you're getting, but a very nice job tonight.
Thank you.
I apologize for doing it this way. Some of you may know that Rogers Network has been down all across the country today, so I've been unable to get a couple messages through. I was just going to jump in. Cristiano Morano that Nate spoke about. If there were 2 officials in the world, if there were 3 officials in the world that I'd openly seek video of to watch work and understand how he controls the game, and we understand what game control means, Cristiano would be one of those 2 or 3. I first worked with him in a game in Istanbul, Turkey, a game that Hito Turkoglu managed to break the nose of the player that was guarding him, and a player who bled more than any player I've seen bleed in a very short instance. And Cristiano was a very young official in 2002, and we managed to get out of it okay, basically for his skill. So I'll stop there. And Nate, I did send you a quick email. And again, I apologize. It's just I can't get through on another message. I'll get you to have a look at it afterwards. And if you don't mind it, hopefully it'll only take you about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Thanks,
no problem, Mike. We'll do. Thanks.
Get out of the way.
It also gave lots of time for everyone else to type questions in the chat for you, Nate. But
Yeah, no
Frank,
problem.
did you have a question? I noticed you came onto your camera.
Oh, it needs to unmute, I think.
You have to unmute yourself though. Still muted.
No, I
There you
don't
go.
have a question. Thanks.
Okay, I saw you pop in there. Just making sure.
I know Nate doesn't want to hear this, but I got to tell you, I wrote in the chat that I think most officials across the country should see this and hear this presentation. Everything that you've mentioned is of value, and all of us can learn from that. And if we take a few things that you've mentioned and make us better, all I need to say is, Nate, that was outstanding and very worthwhile.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Frank. Thank you.
So next question I had in the chat was, how do young officials deal with working with senior officials that are calling all over their coverage area, kind of decreasing that trust factor that you have within a crew, whether it be 2-person, 3-person?
That's a great question. See, Bobby typed that. How you doing, Bobby? That's tough. You know what I mean? As a young official, you never really want to, coming out and you don't want to be cocky. You don't want to step on someone's foot, and the next thing you know, you're off to the side or something like that. It's not easy. Well, I just think that the awareness factor, as long as young officials in those difficult scenarios are aware, I think it goes a long way. If they're able to talk to that official or those officials afterwards, that would be great. But again, it's not easy. Coming up, we've all kind of been there and had that. Just be aware, right? Be aware. Maybe ask yourself a couple questions. Why does that official feel like they need to come in or something like that? You know what I mean? And again, if you can talk about it after, definitely worth talking about. Other people you won't be able to talk about it with, but again, yeah, it's tough coming up. We've all been there.
Excellent.
Mm.
Thank you for the question, Bobby. Next one I saw from Arash. What tips can you provide in getting your partners on the same page as you? I find sometimes that comes to the active mindset of the official. How can we help them achieve that if they are lost or struggling in the game?
Good question. I'll address that from 2 points, either in the pregame, and then I'll address that mid-game. The pregame, that's why I try and encourage people to talk in the pregame as well. So hopefully you can kind of get a feeling for where they're at in the pregame. You know what I mean? If you feel that they're lost or they may be off on another branch or something like that, pregame is a great opportunity to kind of use that to bring them in. even if it's just for that game, you know what I mean? Like they might go back and do their own thing afterwards, but for that game, if you're the crew chief and you're saying this is the way I just want to handle these things, make that a clear point in the pregame. Ask them what they think about it, and you got to find that happy medium. You got to find that happy medium somewhere. If it's in the game and you're noticing they're lost, again, much tougher because again, you can't really necessarily talk to them, and you don't really want to assert your point or whatever by making calls that will hopefully make them see it a certain way. So I would just suggest, if you can talk to them dead balls, you can talk to them timeouts, half time, and again, even if it's just for that game, if you get on that page for that for the rest of the game, we're good. And again, discuss it after, right? And post game, make sure you're talking about all that stuff. Address it, right? Because it'll just linger on and get weird after. Clear it all up once that game comes to an end.
Excellent. The last one that I saw in here is from Kelly.
Yeah.
It says, regarding pregame discussions, how do you get a more senior official to partake? I find that the only time pre-games happen are at camps or tournaments. Locally, it almost never happens in those types of games, say whether you're doing high school, club ball, stuff like that. So what would you suggest or identify there as something that might help?
You know what? In those situations, and yeah, I totally understand that point. Maybe just make it a little less informal. You know what I mean? If you notice your partner's there 15, 20 minutes early, it doesn't have to be okay, we have to talk about this pregame, because I know some people, more or less just want to come in, do their thing and leave. But again, if you catch them a little bit before the game, an informal pregame, again, just discussing, hey, just quickly, what are your thoughts on our rotations? You know what I mean? Like, or what are your thoughts on the way you want to call hand checking this game? Making it maybe a little bit more informal will go a long way. As you refer to senior officials partaking, again, informal, maybe just asking them their opinion, getting them talking, will kind of, once they get talking, conversation, butt in, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Again, it's all just getting to that, it's getting on that same page for the game. You know what I mean? You can't change, you're not going to change your partners. But at least for that game, if you can get that harmonious, get on that same page for it, get through it, and maybe afterwards they're willing to talk, hopefully, hey, what did you see on that play there? Or hey, remember the second quarter, what happened with, you know what I mean? So again, it's imperfect. And just on that last one, Kelly, there will be a couple people locally that are keen, that do want that pregame. And so when those opportunities come up, don't miss them. You know what I mean? Just, sit there, talk with them, like talk it out, share clips. Some people will be more open than others. It's just the way it is. When those people are open, jump on it, make the best of it.
So the last question I have here, and he's making me ask this, but Farhan asked and said, great job, Nate.
Yeah.
Only question I have is, how do I look as good as Nate in a refereeing uniform?
Oh, Farhan.
Any tips?
He left, right?
No, he's still here.
I'm here. I'm listening.
Oh, okay, man. You're
okay, but no, seriously, what's your workout protocol, your nutrition protocol? Like, don't give me everything. Give me like one or two things that everyone can benefit from.
I'm gonna need another 50 minutes for that, man.
Only the legal stuff, okay? Only the legal stuff.
Just be consistent. I will also say, and I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a specialist of any, but diet goes a long way. Diet goes a very long way. Better than and further than any workout you can ever do. So I'll just leave it at that. Is that good? Okay.
So what that means, Farhan, is you have to start doing that abs workout you told me you were going to do with me, but you haven't yet.
You're blasting me across the country, man. That's not good.
Oh man.
any other questions, you can just use your hand now, or if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, sure thing.
Awesome. Well, Nate, I appreciate you taking time tonight, man. I know it's a little bit of a long night for you, but
No, it's all good.
you know, like I said, I don't know if you've had a chance to go through the chat completely. I'll leave it open for a bit for you, but you know,
Yeah.
a lot of people just saying thank you so much for your insight and stuff on the game, and I already have people asking me for your presentations, so which is awesome. So there will be a recording of this once Peter gets it posted. I will post the Peter's site. And like I said, all the presentations are on there that you can access. If you would like to use one of them locally, let me know and I'll try my best to get you hooked up. As far as wanting to show it to a local board, I know probably that won't happen as much this year as maybe getting into September, October, when we get a little bit closer to return to play. But if you want to use any of the presentations at all, please reach out to me. And like I said, we're back at it quickly this week. So Wednesday on the 21st, we have Jamie Jennings from Newfoundland that's going to be presenting that night. So I'll send the information out for that call tomorrow night. But again, thank you all for taking time to come out tonight and listen to the presentation. Nate, again, thank you so much for joining us. We just absolutely appreciate having you here tonight. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Thank you for everyone again in the comments, and can't wait to see you guys on the floor.